Welcome back. Well, oil prices edged up today after a near 5% rebound the day before, as concerns about the impact of Omicron variant on global fuel demand eased. While Iran nuclear talks hit roadblocks, delaying the return of Iranian crude supplies. Brent crude futures rose 60 cents to $73.68 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $70.23 a barrel. In a sign of confidence in oil demand, the world's top exporter, Saudi Arabia, raised monthly crude prices on Sunday. This comes after OPEC Plus agreed to continue raising output by 400,000 barrels per day in January, despite the release of U.S. strategic petroleum reserves. In addition, a delay in the return of Iranian oil supported prices. Indirect U.S.-Iran nuclear talks have hit roadblocks. Germany urged Iran on Monday to present realistic proposals in talks over its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Iraq has also expressed optimism over demand and higher prices, while global oil and gas executive warned of underinvestment and the need for fossil fuels, despite a push for cleaner energy. Well, let's talk about happenings in this oil space, and of course, as it affects Nigeria, with Bolanle Agbaje, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Good morning, Bolanle.
Hi,
good
good
to
morning.
have you.
Thank you for having me.
So what's going on? I mean, first of all, let's talk about this hiking of price by Saudi Arabia in the midst of, okay, the concerns on Omicron is reducing, but then you have OPEC Plus has agreed that there'll be increase
yes,
in supply. Iran, okay, the talks have hit roadblock, but what gave them the confidence?
Well, looking at the fundamentals, the inventories are still tight. And I'm sure OPEC Plus have generally studied the markets. I think they usually have monthly meetings now to kind of evaluate how the market is playing before making their decision. So they're still confident that, you know, the market is still tight. Demand is still much higher than supply at the moment due to the seasonal effects. We're still in the midst of, you know, in the highest part of the winter. And they do expect that, you know, demand would increase. So Saudi Arabia increasing its price, I think that's a positive signal on, you know, the trajectory of oil prices in the short run.
And what about the Iran talks? Do we see an end?
I definitely do, because obviously the U.S. government is much more, you know, friendlier, I would say, when it comes to, you know, the relationship between Iran and the U.S. But if we do see Iranian oil coming into the market, I think that's when we would, you know, start to see chances of oil prices pulling back a bit. But at the moment, the 400,000 barrels a day that they've agreed to pump into the system, I'm sure they've evaluated the fact that, you know, this wouldn't reduce prices as it should. And we've seen evidence of that. The only drawback to prices we had seen in the previous weeks was this new variant that had come into the market. But so far, so good. It seems like it's nothing to fear. And it's kind of easing the fear in the market at the moment. So those are the...
but if oil or the oil space is not showing so much concern, you know, about Omicron,
yes,
then why are countries, you know, banning trips and affecting the growth in the aviation, especially at this time? You know, this is a festive period where a lot of people, and Nigeria or the African countries seem to be getting a lot of hits. I mean,
so you'll definitely be more concerned about Nigeria in this aspect. And I think, you know, apart from the health, you know, aspect of the new variant, we also talk about the political aspect. When you're looking at what the UK's decision to, you know, ban or include Nigeria in the ban list, I think it comes to question the data integrity and reliability of data within Nigeria at the moment. You know, the UK had mentioned that they had seen about 21 cases that had, you know, been gotten from Nigeria, whereas Nigeria was reporting only 3 cases. So the data integrity and reliability is what I think they're more concerned about, as opposed to the racist part of it. And from what we had seen from about last year, it seems like the aftermath or the after effect of, you know, this virus is what most countries are trying to avoid. You know, we've come this far from about 2020 till about, you know, 2021 this year. And, you know, some of these countries have spent so much, you know, to get their countries back to this level. And I'm sure any slight case of...
but they have more cases than us.
Yes,
I mean, if you look at the UK, for instance.
I would think this as a precautionary measure on the UK side. I know it seems like, you know, there's some racist aspect to it, but I think most of these countries are only trying to understand what this new variant is saying. I know Canada had also done the same by including Nigeria.
They were the first.
Yes.
Even before the UK.
But Canada, if you look at the history of, you know, since the COVID started, Canada has been the most cautious country so far. They're the ones that have, you know, apart from Australia, they're the ones that have pulled back with, you know, easing travel bans for most countries, not just Nigeria. So any signal of, you know, the variant happening or the variant existing in South Africa, Nigeria, I'm sure
But have they banned flights from the UK? I mean, these are questions, you know,
Yes.
that bog people's mind.
It does.
You know, because, I mean, if we look at the cases, yes, I mean, you talked about the integrity of our data and our system, reporting system, and all that. That, of course, is an issue.
Yes.
But, I mean, even right there, we see a lot, and yet there are no bans. They don't ban each other.
I think the mindset would be that, you know, most of these they believe the Western countries can more or less handle, you know, this COVID cases better off than the Africans. I think that's the mindset, which might not necessarily be true. But the UK government has come out to say they will reevaluate this after 3 weeks. So let's hope for the best. But obviously, we have to face the fact that, you know, this particular month, which we had expected, you know, more travelers coming in, both business and holiday travel, we're going to miss out on that. And the fact that, you know, investor confidence would also be affected. So it's not great news for Nigeria, but I think there's nothing we can do.
I guess this is also a challenge to the African continent to look inwards. Because, I mean, we don't really...
And be as sustainable as they can be.
Exactly. So... I mean, I was having a discussion with some of my colleagues early this morning. How many Americans actually travel so much outside America? You know, they want to go on vacation, they go to another state.
Yes, exactly.
And we've got all of that.
No, we don't even have that culture. Nobody is traveling to, let's say, Kwara or something, or another state.
Or Taraba, where you have the Mambila Plateau.
Or Calabar. A lot of people don't, you know, find that. It's also a mindset, the Nigerian mindset. We don't believe that what we produce is good enough.
And so that's why others don't also have the confidence.
They don't have the confidence. And it also plays into our commodities. Like the commodity space is something we had spoken about severally. When Nigerians produce certain commodities, the Nigerian consumer is still, you know, apprehensive in consuming those particular commodities. They question, you know, the quality and, you know, the fact that, oh, it's Nigerian produced. I think at the time they introduced the Nigerian rice, that was, you know, what was going round. And I think still, a lot of Nigerians still don't buy, you know, Nigerian rice, except they're forced to, you know, their pockets.
Or they are tricked to.
Exactly. So a lot of the foreign rice is still circulating amongst the middle to rich class. So it's still a problem, and it would be played in different aspects of the economy.
So how does all of this affect the commodity space, you know?
Well, regarding oil, so far so good. We do expect that, you know, as long as, you know, there's no significant effects from Iran, or significant increase in supply from Iran, or, you know, the Omicron variant is not detrimental to, you know, the health of the economy, we don't expect, you know, oil prices to decline so much. So that's great for us, for reserve accretion, for, you know, boosting our revenue. But with other commodities at the moment, we're definitely seeing increase in the supply of these commodities. So prices are relatively, you know, flat to, you know, low at the moment, except for the price of cement and rice. But it's good. It's great for commodity prices currently.
And then we still have cooking gas, and now we have a shortage in supply.
Yes,
and what's causing that?
There was always shortage in supply. I think a few weeks.
But I think it's 5.5% more than it was before.
But at the moment, you know, last month or 2 months ago, the Nigerian LNG had come out to say they were going to increase supply. But it seems like this is not enough to quench the demand in the market, and most consumers are forced to look for other substitutes. We do have an LPG challenge. I saw recently that the Vice President is going to Dubai for an LPG summit. So hopefully there are positive, there's something positive to come out of that when it comes to investors. I think we need more investors in that particular
Investors
space.
in what area?
Mainly infrastructure. Because I think with LPG, lack of infrastructure to pass this gas, into major communities is a major challenge. It's very difficult. You need to have, it's highly flammable as well. So a lot of business owners would not want to venture into that aspect because of the increase in cost. So that's looking for suitable investors that actually understand the channel of producing and distributing the LPG is a major challenge. And I think, most people had focused on oil, or most investors had focused on oil because it was highly profitable. No one wants to focus on gas. We talk about the fact that there's gas flaring, increase in gas flaring and all that within the economy. And it's something that the government needs to obviously work at in getting or trying to gain more investors in that space.
So what would we say? Would we say that the government has made this sector attractive enough? Because we've been having this discussion for some months now.
There definitely has to be some government partnership. Okay. Because, like I mentioned, the lack of infrastructure, you need to wire pipes, across major cities within the country. It's a very difficult and highly,
and then there's the security
project. And the security issue, vandalism, so nobody wants to venture in that if they don't feel like they have the partnership with the government. So I think those are the aspects that we like. With oil, you have, NNPC, controlling the major aspects of, oil. You need to have the same for the gas aspect.
So when you say people would like to have partnership with the government in this area, what exactly do you mean? You want the government to have a company that can work with individuals?
Not necessarily a company, but like some joint venture, for example. So the government comes in and says, okay, would more or less supply some of the pipes within the space, and all you have to do as an investor is invest in producing this LPG and making sure that it's being distributed effectively to those consumers. So, something like producing or introducing pipes within the cities is highly costly. So I don't think it's anything that any investor would want to.
But is the production process longer or shorter than the oil?
So I'm not too sure about the specifics, but I think, when it comes to gas, it will more or less be identical. But you just have to have different channels to pass this. So they can't use the same pipes that they use.
Sure.
Yes.
Because they're different elements.
Yes, they're different elements. And even understanding how to, because LPG is a part of LNG, or natural gas.
Natural gas.
So that's so trying to get that aspect is.
Because the name actually suggests that you should have less production process and make it easier to.
Yeah, so it's liquefied natural gas, more or less. But trying to pass this across to consumers is very difficult. The agencies that control, or the body that controls the gas aspect of the economy has come to mention several aspects of the fact that it's hard to produce this particular product.
All right. Well, Christmas is around the corner. Yes. What's going on with festivity, commodities?
Yes. So with the commodities, we do expect that prices remain relatively stable.
Stable,
yes.
Not high?
Not necessarily high. Like incomes are squeezed. We don't expect, this would have started towards the end of November, because most people purchase ahead of time. But we do expect that even if prices increase, there has to be something drastic. So if demand picks up significantly, then we'll see the price of major, commodities that are driven or that are consumed during the Christmas period. So like the price of rice, tomatoes, but currently the price of some of these commodities are relatively stable.
It would be nice to know if this hike in the price is artificial or if it's really necessary,
It's a demand. But then again, the data integrity comes to play in this aspect as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Bolanle, for sharing your thoughts with us on some of the issues on the commodity space this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
So we'll take a break now. After the break, we'll look at happenings in the transport sector. Like we know, the Transport Summit started yesterday. We'll have a feel of what's going on there. Do stay with us. It's Business Morning on Channels Television.